1934. The first photo of the supposed Loch Ness monster incites public frenzy and a torrent of tourists looking for Nessie. But not everyone believes the image, known as the surgeon's photo, is authentic.
For centuries, the dark waters of Loch Ness have guarded one of the world's greatest mysteries. Countless sightings, blurry photographs, and astonishing eyewitness accounts have fueled endless debates about what truly lurks beneath the surface. But now, a startling discovery may have brought us closer than ever to the truth. What investigators uncovered has challenged decades of theories and left even seasoned experts stunned. Was the legendary monster finally identified, or does the real answer reveal something even more shocking than anyone ever imagined? The biggest search in years. The mystery of Loch Ness is still very much alive, and if anything, it has become even more exciting in recent times. Far from fading into history, the search for the legendary Nessie continues with renewed energy and modern tools that earlier generations could only dream of. One of the most ambitious efforts yet is currently taking place through an annual investigation known as the Quest, organized by the Loch Ness Experience. This event brings together a diverse mix of people: scientists, technology specialists, curious tourists, and passionate mystery hunters, all united by the same question: what really lies beneath the dark waters of Loch Ness? At the center of this year's search is a powerful piece of technology called an autonomous underwater drone known as micromilli. Unlike older expeditions that depended mostly on people watching from the shore or basic sonar readings, this advanced device can travel independently beneath the surface. It moves carefully through the deep waters, collecting extremely detailed information about the lake floor. Its main focus is Urquhart Bay, a place long connected with strange sightings and unexplained stories. With its high-tech sensors and smart navigation system, micromilli is able to explore areas that have never been properly studied before. Researchers are especially hopeful that this underwater exploration will uncover hidden details about the loch itself. They are looking for unusual formations such as deep trenches, underwater caves, or strange geological patterns that might help explain why so many people over the years have reported seeing something unusual in the water. Even if no creature is found, the information gathered could still completely change what we know about the structure and behavior of the lake. At the same time, the search is not only happening underwater. On the surface, hundreds of volunteers are taking part in organized surface watches. These teams carefully scan the water, watching for any unusual ripples, movements, or shadows that might hint at something large moving below. Interest in these watches has grown again, especially after recent reported sightings that have once more stirred public imagination and debate. What makes this modern search so fascinating is the way it blends ancient legend with cutting-edge science. It is no longer just about chasing a mythical creature. Instead, it has become a serious effort to understand one of Scotland's most mysterious natural environments. Whether the outcome reveals a hidden animal, uncovers new geological secrets, or simply deepens scientific knowledge, one thing is clear: Loch Ness continues to hold a powerful grip on human curiosity. Nearly 100 years after the legend of Nessie first began, the dark waters still invite exploration, wonder, and the possibility that something truly unknown may still be waiting below the surface. What is the creature that everyone keeps talking about in Loch Ness? What are people saying about the creature? Let's dive into the details of the monster that refused to die, and how a Scottish lake captured the world's imagination: the legend beneath Loch Ness. For more than 90 years, one of the world's most famous mysteries has refused to disappear, even though it hides in a place where it almost feels impossible for anything to remain unseen. Loch Ness is not a deep ocean trench far from human reach. Nor is it a dense jungle cut off from civilization. It is a long, freshwater lake in the Scottish Highlands, clearly marked on maps, bordered by small towns, roads, and tourist viewpoints. People live around it, travel across it, and constantly observe it. And yet, despite all this attention, it continues to guard a secret that has puzzled the world for generations. Part of what makes Loch Ness so fascinating is the lake itself. It stretches for about 23 miles, cutting through rocky highland landscapes like a dark, winding river that never ends. In some places, it plunges to depths of around 755 feet, deep enough to swallow entire buildings in its shadow. The water is thick with peat from the surrounding hills, giving it a dark, almost smoky color. Because of this, visibility beneath the surface is extremely poor. Even when the sky is bright and clear, the water below looks like a bottomless shadow, hiding whatever might be moving inside it. Then came 1933, the year everything changed. A local couple reported seeing a large creature or object disturbing the surface of the water. At first, it sounded like a simple local story, easily forgotten. But newspapers quickly picked it up, and the tale spread far beyond the highlands. Within months, more reports began to appear. People from different places claimed they had seen strange shapes moving under the water, long dark humps rising and falling, and something massive gliding silently beneath the waves. The mystery reached worldwide attention in 1934 when the famous surgeon's photograph was published. It appeared to show a long neck rising from the lake, attached to a small head, like something out of a prehistoric world. For many, it was the first proof that something unknown might truly live in Loch Ness. Years later, the photograph was revealed to be a carefully planned hoax. But by then, it no longer mattered. The image may have been fake, but the story had already taken on a life of its own. Nessie was no longer just something people claimed to see. Nessie had become a symbol, a legend, an idea that lived in imagination more than in water. And once an idea captures the world's curiosity, it becomes far harder to sink than any creature beneath the surface. Has there been any move to confirm the existence of the monster? Did the efforts yield any outcome? Let's dive into the details of the biggest monster hunt in scientific history. Loch Ness, a deepening mystery. Most myths usually fade away once real evidence refuses to show up, but Loch Ness seems to have taken the opposite path. Instead of becoming clearer with time, the mystery only grew stronger. The more people searched for answers, the more the lake seemed to guard its secret. Over the years, scientists and explorers carried out one investigation after another. They brought in underwater cameras to film the deep, dark waters. Powerful sonar systems were used to scan the lake bed from side to side. Skilled divers went down into the cold, silent depths, hoping to find something unusual. Even film crews and documentary teams spent long periods at the loch, carefully watching and waiting for any sign of the unknown. In the 1970s, excitement rose sharply. Researchers reported strange underwater images that seemed to show large shapes moving beneath the surface. Some of these shapes looked like wide flippers or fins. The findings were taken seriously enough to be discussed in scientific journals. A few respected scientists even suggested the possibility that an unknown animal species could be living in the lake, hidden from human eyes. Then came one of the most famous missions, Operation Deep Scan in 1987. It was a massive effort involving 24 boats, all fitted with advanced sonar equipment. Together, they moved across the full length of Loch Ness in what was one of the most detailed freshwater searches ever carried out at the time. During this operation, something unexpected happened. The sonar systems picked up several large moving objects deep below the surface. The readings were strong and consistent. They suggested something solid, something that was not just debris or a trick of the light. For a moment, it seemed like a breakthrough. But just as quickly as they appeared, the objects vanished. No photos were taken. No samples were recovered. No clear explanation was ever found. The moment slipped away, leaving only confusion behind. Years later, even more advanced technology was used. This time, hundreds of sonar beams scanned the entire lake with far greater accuracy than before. The expectation was simple: finally uncover the truth. But the results were surprising. There was no giant creature, no hidden ancient reptile, no surviving dinosaur-like being in the depths. Nothing could explain the old stories. And yet, the contradiction remains unsettling. For decades, thousands of people have reported seeing something strange in the water. At the same time, modern technology continues to find nothing solid to support those claims. The lake keeps its silence, and the mystery only grows deeper with every search. Who brought a new scientific approach into the quest? What did he do differently? Let's dig into the details of the questions scientists finally asked the water itself. The science behind Loch Ness. Everything changed in 2018 when a scientist from New Zealand decided to look at the Loch Ness mystery in a completely new way. Instead of chasing legends, taking dramatic photos, or listening to old stories, Professor Neil Gemmell chose a quieter and more scientific path. He was not interested in proving that a monster existed. He was not trying to capture Nessie on camera. In fact, he stepped away from all the usual excitement and rumors. His goal was much simpler, but far more powerful. He wanted to study the lake itself and see what it could reveal if carefully examined. To do this, he used one of the most advanced tools in modern science called environmental DNA, or eDNA. The idea behind it is surprisingly simple. Every living thing leaves tiny traces of itself behind. Fish lose tiny scales as they move. Animals and birds release waste into water or soil. Even skin cells quietly fall away without anyone noticing. Over time, all these tiny pieces mix into the environment. These invisible fragments carry DNA, like a hidden signature. Scientists can collect water, soil, or air and analyze it to find out what kinds of living things have been there. It is almost like reading a biological history written by nature itself. Gemmell's idea was straightforward. If a large unknown creature was really living in Loch Ness, then it would be leaving behind DNA. The lake would contain proof of its presence even if no one ever saw it clearly. So his team carried out a large and careful study. They collected about 250 water samples from different parts of the loch. They did not just take water from one place. They sampled shallow areas, deep waters, and locations spread across the entire lake. Each sample was handled with extreme care to avoid contamination, then sent to several laboratories for detailed testing. After months of waiting, the results finally arrived. People expected mystery, excitement, or maybe even proof of something unknown lurking in the deep waters. But what they found was much more ordinary. There was no sign of a prehistoric reptile, no giant shark, no unknown species hiding in the depths, no scientific evidence of a monster at all. Instead, something very unexpected showed up in large amounts: eel DNA. In fact, there was far more eel genetic material in the lake than scientists had predicted. It suggested that eels were not just present in Loch Ness, they might be extremely abundant there. This finding led to a fascinating new idea. What if many of the strange sightings over the years were not monsters at all, but unusually large eels? What if the famous creature of Loch Ness was not a mythical beast, but simply nature being misunderstood in deep, dark water? The mystery did not completely disappear, but it certainly changed shape. What explanations did science give to the mystery? What increased the confusion? Let's talk about the giant eels, moving Earth, and the strange tricks of the human mind, where perception shapes the monster. At first glance, the eel theory sounds almost too simple to matter, almost like a letdown after years of dramatic monster stories. It feels as though it shrinks the mystery rather than expands it. But when researchers began to look more carefully, the idea became harder to dismiss completely. European eels are far from ordinary creatures. Their life cycle is one of nature's strangest journeys. They are born in the distant, open waters of the Atlantic Ocean, far from land and human sight. From there, tiny young eels drift for thousands of miles until they reach the rivers, lakes, and wetlands of Europe. They then spend many years growing in fresh water, often hidden in muddy depths. After that long stay, they mysteriously return to the ocean where they were born, traveling back across vast distances to reproduce. Even today, scientists still do not fully understand how they find their way with such accuracy across an entire ocean. This leaves an unsettling question hanging in the air. Could Loch Ness hide eels that are far larger than expected? And if so, could a large eel briefly breaking the surface be mistaken for something far more dramatic? Something like a monster? It is possible, at least in small moments. A twisting body, a sudden rise, or a dark shape slipping underwater could easily confuse an observer. But even this explanation does not cover everything people report. Loch Ness itself adds another layer of mystery. The lake sits above the Great Glen Fault, one of the major geological fracture zones in Britain. Deep under the water, small shifts in the earth can disturb layers of sediment and release trapped gases. When these gases rise in large bubbles through the thick, dark water, they can create sudden and strange movements at the surface. The water may bulge upward unexpectedly. Ripples can spread in unusual directions. Dark shapes can appear and vanish within seconds. To someone watching from the shore, these effects can feel alive, almost intentional. Yet perhaps the most powerful force behind the mystery is not in the water at all, but in the human mind. Psychologists have long shown that the brain is built to recognize patterns even when the information is unclear or incomplete. We instinctively try to make sense of what we see, filling in gaps with meaning. At Loch Ness, this tendency becomes even stronger because people arrive already expecting something unusual. The legend is already alive in their imagination before they even see the lake. So a simple wave can become a hump. A shifting shadow can become a moving creature. A brief and uncertain glimpse can grow into a full monster in memory. This does not mean people are lying or imagining things on purpose. Most truly believe what they report. In the end, the mystery of Loch Ness may not exist only in its deep, dark waters. It may also live within the remarkable and sometimes deceptive way human beings see and interpret the world around them. Which finding seems most surprising about the mystery? Why does it remain a mystery? Let's take a look at the truth that shocked everyone, and the reason why the real story is better than a monster. Why Loch Ness still haunts us. The most surprising outcome of the Loch Ness investigations is not simply that scientists did not find a monster. The real shock is what they uncovered instead. Something far more complex and far more interesting than a single creature hiding in the deep. Rather than one clear explanation, the Loch Ness phenomenon appears to be a mix of many different factors working together over time. There is no single answer because there is no single mystery. Instead, there are layers of small natural causes that, when combined, create something that feels larger than life. Some of the lake's secrets may lie in unusually large eels that can grow bigger than expected and move in strange ways through deep water. The loch itself is also very dark and almost impossible to see through, which makes even simple movements beneath the surface look mysterious. On top of that, the lake sits in a geologically active region, meaning underwater shifts and natural movements can create unexpected sounds and waves. Unusual sonar readings and visual distortions often add to the mystery. Deep water can create optical illusions, while human perception naturally seeks familiar patterns in unclear images. Combined with decades of stories and media attention, even ordinary ripples or shadows can easily be interpreted as something extraordinary lurking beneath the surface. Put all of this together, and you get one of the longest-lasting legends in modern history. A mystery built not on one unknown, but on many small uncertainties that feed into each other. Yet the story has an unexpected twist. In 2018, a large DNA survey of Loch Ness was carried out, not just to search for the monster, but to understand the entire ecosystem of the lake. The results became one of the most detailed freshwater biodiversity studies ever done. Scientists discovered thousands of organisms and improved techniques that are now used around the world to study and protect aquatic life. Ironically, the search for a creature that likely never existed helped advance real scientific knowledge in a meaningful way. Perhaps this is why Loch Ness still captures our imagination. It is not because we truly expect a prehistoric beast to rise from the depths. It is because the lake represents something deeper in us. We are drawn to mystery. We want places that refuse to give up all their secrets. And Loch Ness still offers that feeling. Even today, the water remains dark and silent. The depths are still mostly unseen. Some sonar signals remain unexplained. Some sightings still have no clear answers, and so people continue to stand by its shores, staring into the black water, asking the same quiet question. Not just what is in the lake, but why we still need it to remain a mystery at all. So, what do you think about the Loch Ness mystery? What seems to be the most mysterious of all? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.